I still remember that autumn evening when Lauren rested her head on my shoulder on our front porch. We talked about having children next year, about building our future together. Everything in my life felt complete. I had a stable career, a wife I adored, and a family I thought would always stand by me. But 2 months later, everything I believed in crumbled to dust. And the most painful part was not the betrayal itself. It was discovering that the people I expected to support me chose to stand against me instead. Before I share this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a comment below with your location. If you believe that loyalty and respect should be the foundation of any family, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What I am about to tell you might be difficult to hear, but if you have ever felt abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, this story is for you. Stay with me until the end. My name is Paul, and I am 32 years old. I work as a software engineer at a tech company here in Austin, Texas. 6 years ago, my life changed forever when I met Lauren at an outdoor concert in Zilker Park. I remember that afternoon like it happened yesterday. The sun was setting behind the stage, casting this golden light across the crowd. I noticed her standing with a group of friends laughing at something someone had said. The way the sunlight caught her hair, the genuine joy in her smile, I could not look away. We ended up in the same line at the drink stand. I was so nervous that when I finally got my beer, I somehow managed to spill half of it on my own shoes. I expected her to walk away or give me a look of disgust. Instead, she laughed and handed me a napkin. She said something like, "Rough day," or just excited to see me. That one sentence started a conversation that lasted the entire concert. We forgot about our friends, forgot about the music, and just talked. 2 years of dating followed, 2 years of building something I thought was unbreakable. When I decided to propose, I knew exactly where it had to happen. I brought her back to Zilker Park, to the same spot near that drink stand. She said yes before I even finished my question. Our wedding was intimate, about 80 guests, mostly family and close friends. My parents, Richard and Sandra, could not stop talking about how much they loved Lauren. My father kept telling everyone that I had found a good woman, a keeper. 4 years of marriage came next. We bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood. We had routines and inside jokes and plans for the future. I truly believed we were building something that would last a lifetime. Then, Derek came back into our lives. Derek is my cousin, 2 years older than me. His mother, Janet, is my father's sister. Growing up, Derek and I spent every summer together at our grandmother's house. We built forts, caught fireflies, shared secrets. He was more like a brother than a cousin. But as adults, we drifted apart. He moved to Dallas, got married, started his own life. I heard updates about him through family gatherings, but we rarely talked directly. When news came that Derek was getting divorced, my Aunt Janet called my father in tears. She said Derek was devastated that he needed to be around family during this difficult time. The official story was that he and his wife simply grew apart, that they wanted different things. My parents asked if Lauren and I could help him get back on his feet. Maybe let him stay with us for a couple of weeks while he found an apartment in Austin, help him network for job opportunities. I agreed without hesitation. He was family. He was the same kid I used to catch fireflies with. How could I say no? Derek arrived on a Thursday evening with 2 suitcases and a grateful smile. Lauren welcomed him, warmly prepared the guest room with fresh sheets and towels. Over the next few days, she went out of her way to make him feel at home. She cooked elaborate dinners, helped him update his resume, gave him advice about starting over. I remember feeling proud of her generosity, thinking how lucky I was to have such a caring wife. The first sign that something was wrong came about 3 weeks after Derek moved into his own apartment nearby. I noticed that he and Lauren texted each other frequently. Whenever I walked into the room, they would be laughing at something on one of their phones. When I asked about it, Lauren said Derek was asking for her advice about dating apps. She said he felt embarrassed asking me man to man, so he came to her instead. It seemed reasonable enough. I let it go. The second sign came one evening when I got home later than usual from work. I found Derek and Lauren sitting very close together on our sofa, watching a movie in the dim light of the living room. When they heard the door open, they shifted apart quickly, too quickly. Lauren explained that Derek had been feeling depressed about his divorce, and she was just being a supportive friend. Derek nodded along, not quite meeting my eyes. I wanted to believe them, so I did. The third sign was subtler but harder to ignore. Lauren started paying more attention to her appearance. She joined a new gym, bought new clothes, started wearing makeup even on days she worked from home. She said she wanted to feel better about herself, to have more energy. I told myself this was a positive change. I was happy for her. But then came the distance. Lauren became quieter around me. She spent more time on her phone smiling at messages she never showed me. Our conversations grew shorter. Our intimacy faded. I would reach for her in bed and she would say she was tired or had a headache. I started wondering if I had done something wrong, if I was not giving her enough attention because of work. I pushed these doubts aside. Lauren loved me. Derek was family. I was being paranoid, looking for problems where none existed. I wish I had trusted my instincts. It was a Saturday afternoon in late spring when my world collapsed. I was supposed to be in a meeting until 5, but the client canceled at the last minute. I decided to surprise Lauren by coming home early. Maybe we could go out for dinner, spend some quality time together like we used to. When I pulled into our driveway, I noticed Derek's car parked on the street. My first thought was that he had stopped by for a visit, nothing unusual. He came over often enough. I walked through the front door, called out Lauren's name. No answer. The downstairs was empty. Then I heard movement from upstairs, from our bedroom. I cannot accurately describe what I felt as I climbed those stairs. Each step seemed to take forever. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands trembled. Part of me already knew what I was about to find, but my brain refused to accept it. I kept telling myself there was an explanation. There had to be an explanation. I pushed open our bedroom door, and there they were, my wife and my cousin. In my bed. In the home Lauren and I had built together. For a moment time stopped. I could not speak, could not move, could not breathe. It was like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out everything that made me who I was. Lauren screamed when she saw me. She grabbed the sheets, pulled them up to cover herself, her face going pale. Derek scrambled to the other side of the bed, fumbling with his clothes, avoiding my eyes completely. He muttered something about this not being what it looked like, as if there was any other way to interpret what I had just witnessed. I did not yell. I did not throw anything or start a fight. I simply turned around, walked back down the stairs, and left the house. I got in my car and drove. I did not know where I was going. I ended up in an empty parking lot behind a shopping center about 20 minutes from my house. And I sat there. For 3 hours I sat there staring at nothing, trying to process the complete destruction of everything I thought I knew. When I finally went home that night, Lauren was waiting in the living room. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She immediately launched into apologies and explanations. She said she had been lonely. She said I was always working, always distracted, never fully present. She said Derek was there when she needed someone. She said it just happened. I asked her how long it had been going on. She hesitated, then admitted the truth. 3 months. Since Derek was still living in our guest room. She had been sleeping with my cousin, under my own roof, for 3 months, while I worked to provide for our future. She begged me not to tell anyone. She promised to end things with Derek immediately. She said we could work through this, that our marriage was worth fighting for. I called Derek the next day and demanded to meet. We sat across from each other in a coffee shop, and he gave me the same story. He said he was weak after his divorce. He said Lauren pursued him, that he tried to resist but could not. He said he was sorry, that he never meant to hurt me. Not once did either of them take full responsibility. It was always someone else's fault, always some external circumstance that forced their hands, as if they were victims of their own choices. Against my better judgment, I called my parents. I needed support. I needed someone to tell me I was not crazy, that my pain was valid, that what happened to me was wrong. My mother listened in silence. My father asked if I was sure I had not misunderstood the situation. They suggested a family meeting at their house on Sunday. When I arrived, Lauren was already there, sitting on the couch, looking remorseful. Derek sat in an armchair, staring at his hands. My Aunt Janet was there too, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. My parents sat across from me like this was some kind of intervention. My aunt spoke first. She talked about how hard Derek's divorce had been on him, how he was not thinking clearly, how he made a mistake, but did not deserve to lose his whole family over it. She actually used the word mistake, as if he had accidentally tripped and fallen into bed with my wife for 3 months. Then my father spoke. He said that family was the most important thing in life. He said that marriages go through difficulties, that every couple faces challenges. He said that divorce would only make things worse, that it would tear our family apart and create permanent damage. He said I needed to be a man and find a way to move past this. My mother nodded along, adding that Lauren was clearly sorry, that everyone deserved a second chance. She suggested couples counseling. She asked if I had considered what I might have done to contribute to Lauren's unhappiness. I sat there listening to my own parents blame me for my wife's affair. I watched them comfort Lauren and Derek while I sat alone on the other side of the room. I heard my father say the words that still echo in my mind today. He said, "If you divorce her, you will humiliate this family. Your Aunt Janet will never forgive us. Think about someone other than yourself for once." I left without saying goodbye. For the first time in my life, I understood that I was alone. The people I thought would protect me no matter what had chosen their reputation over my well-being. My feelings did not matter to them. Only appearances did. The days after that family meeting were suffocating. My phone buzzed constantly with messages and calls from people telling me what I should do. My mother called every morning, her voice switching between gentle persuasion and tearful guilt trips. She said I was breaking her heart. She said she could not sleep at night worrying about me making a terrible decision. She asked if I had prayed about it, if I had really tried to see things from Lauren's perspective. My father's approach was different. His calls were short and stern. He gave me deadlines. He said I had 1 week to come to my senses. He reminded me that he had raised me to be responsible, to put family first, to be a man who could handle difficult situations. He made it clear that choosing divorce meant choosing to disgrace everyone who shared my last name. My Aunt Janet sent long text messages about Derek's childhood, about how sensitive he had always been, about how his divorce had nearly destroyed him. She asked me to have compassion. She never once asked how I was doing. Lauren sent flowers to my office with handwritten notes promising to change. She texted me photos of places we had been together, memories of happier times. She said she would wait for me as long as it took. Even extended relatives I barely spoke to started reaching out. My parents had apparently told them there was a small misunderstanding between me and Lauren, nothing serious. One uncle called to tell me that all marriages have rough patches, that his own wife had forgiven him for something similar decades ago. I felt like I was drowning. Every direction I turned, someone was pushing me to accept the unacceptable. I began questioning myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe there was something wrong with me for not being able to just forgive and move on. The only person who saw me clearly was Nina, my team lead at work. She noticed that I had become withdrawn, that I was making mistakes. I never used to make, that I looked like I had not slept in weeks. One afternoon she asked if I wanted to get coffee. Something about the way she asked made me realize she genuinely cared. I told her everything. It was the first time I had spoken about it to someone who was not trying to change my mind. Nina just listened. When I finished, she said something that shifted everything for me. She said, "Your feelings are completely valid. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. You were betrayed by people you trusted. That is not something you owe anyone forgiveness for." It was the first time since this nightmare began that someone acknowledged my pain without immediately telling me how to fix it. I called Marcus that same week. Marcus has been my best friend since college. He works as a lawyer downtown. When I told him what happened, his reaction was immediate and clear. He said I deserved respect. He said no one had the right to pressure me into staying in a marriage built on lies. He offered to connect me with a divorce attorney he trusted. Meeting with that attorney was the first step I took for myself. I learned about my rights, understood the process, and started preparing the paperwork. I wrote a long letter to my parents, pouring out years of frustration and pain. I never sent it, but writing it helped me see things clearly. After many sleepless nights, I made my decision. I called my parents and told them I would be filing for divorce. I also told them I needed distance from the family while I healed. My father exploded. He called me ungrateful, said I was dead to him if I went through with it. My mother sobbed and begged me to reconsider. But I held firm. I said I love you both, but I also need to love myself. And right now, staying in this situation is destroying me. I moved out of the house Lauren and I had shared and rented a small apartment across town. The divorce process took 4 months. Lauren resisted at first, hoping I would change my mind. Eventually, she signed the papers. We sold the house and split everything according to the agreement. My parents kept their promise. They did not speak to me for 6 months. Holidays passed without invitations. Family events happened without my knowledge. I heard about them afterward through social media posts I happened to see, but in that silence I found something unexpected. I found myself. I threw myself into my work and earned a promotion to senior engineer. I started seeing a therapist who helped me process everything I had been through. I reconnected with Marcus and Nina, who became my chosen family during those dark months. I took up running every morning, feeling stronger with each mile. I taught myself to cook, finding peace in the simple act of preparing a meal just for myself. I joined a volunteer group at a local community center, where I met people who knew nothing about my past and accepted me exactly as I was. I learned that I was stronger than I had ever realized. I learned that being alone was not the same as being lonely. 8 months after the divorce was finalized, I received an unexpected message. It was from the sister of Derek's first wife. She had somehow heard what happened and wanted me to know the truth. Derek's first marriage did not end because they grew apart. It ended because Derek cheated on his wife with one of her closest friends. There was a pattern. I was not his first victim. This information spread through the family quickly. My Aunt Janet was devastated when she finally accepted that her son was not the innocent victim she had always believed him to be. And Lauren discovered that Derek had already moved on to another woman just months after destroying my marriage for him. My mother called me for the first time in half a year. Her voice was different, smaller, less certain. She said, "I am sorry. We were wrong." A few days later, my father sent a short text. It said I made a mistake. "Can we talk? Maybe dinner at home." I did not respond immediately. I was not ready. The first months after leaving everything behind were brutal. I will not pretend otherwise. There were nights when the silence of my apartment felt crushing. There were moments when I caught myself reaching for my phone to text Lauren before remembering she was no longer part of my life. There were tears I shed alone in the dark, grieving not just my marriage but the family I thought I had. But slowly things began to change. Therapy taught me something important. I learned that I was not responsible for what happened to me. I learned that wanting to be treated with respect was not selfish. I learned that walking away from people who hurt you, even people who share your blood, is sometimes the healthiest choice you can make. I started rebuilding my relationship with myself. I cooked meals I enjoyed without worrying about anyone else's preferences. I decorated my apartment with things that made me happy. I made decisions based on what I wanted, not what I thought others expected of me. For the first time in years, I discovered who I was outside of being a husband, a son, a cousin. I found comfort in unexpected places. Morning runs through empty streets as the sun came up. Quiet evenings with a book and a cup of tea. Conversations with strangers at the volunteer center who became friends. I joined a support group for people who had experienced infidelity, and there I realized I was not alone. Others had walked this path before me. Some had come out the other side stronger and happier. Pain does not last forever, not if you allow yourself to heal. After several weeks of reflection, I decided to meet my parents for dinner. I needed to say what I had carried inside for so long. We sat at their kitchen table, the same table where I had grown up eating breakfast before school, and I spoke honestly. I told them how deeply they had hurt me. I told them that choosing appearances over their own son's well-being was something I would never fully understand. I told them that I loved them, but our relationship could not go back to what it was before. They listened. My father, who had always been so certain of everything, admitted he had been wrong. My mother cried and said she wished she had handled things differently. They did not make excuses this time. They just apologized. I forgave them. Not because they necessarily deserved it, but because carrying that anger was exhausting. Forgiveness was a gift I gave myself away to release the weight I had been carrying. But forgiveness did not mean forgetting, and it did not mean pretending nothing had changed. Our relationship would never be the same, and I accepted that. As for Derek, I have not spoken to him since that day in the coffee shop. I have no desire to. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. Some people simply do not deserve a place in your life anymore. Lauren reached out once about a year after the divorce was final. She said she hoped I had found peace, and that she was sorry for everything. I read her message, considered responding, and then deleted it. I wished her well in my heart, but our paths would never cross again. Here is what I learned from all of this. Family is important, but family does not give anyone the right to disrespect you. Blood does not entitle people to your forgiveness when they have shown you they do not value your feelings. Love should never require you to abandon your own dignity. Loving yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. You cannot build a meaningful life if you are constantly sacrificing your well-being for people who would not do the same for you. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. You can forgive someone and still choose to keep them out of your life. You can wish someone well and still refuse to let them hurt you again. And sometimes walking away is not giving up. Sometimes it is the only way to truly start living. Today I am in a much better place. I have been dating someone I met at the volunteer center. Her name is Grace, and she has her own story, her own scars. We are taking things slowly, learning to trust again one day at a time. I do not know what the future holds, but I know that I am facing it as the person I was meant to be, not the person others tried to make me. If you are watching this and you are in a situation like mine, if the people who should have protected you have let you down, I want you to know this. You are not alone. Your feelings matter. You deserve to be treated with respect and love. And it is okay to put yourself first, even when everyone around you is telling you not to. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are exactly the same. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt abandoned by the people who were supposed to stand by you? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss future stories. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Sometimes knowing that others have survived similar pain can make all the difference. Thank you for watching and for being part of this community. I appreciate every single one of you. Whatever you are going through right now, I hope you find the peace and the strength you deserve. Take care of yourself, and remember your feelings always matter.